Live
We
from
are
New
live.
York. Live from New York.
We are live.
NHL Draft 2024. And the Sabres still hold the 14th overall pick.
Hey,
Oh,
it's
we
not-
should probably address.
I was gonna say it's not the 11th.
It's not the 11th overall pick anymore.
I said 14.
Well, I know, but we haven't addressed the fact.
Oh, yeah. Right.
The Sabres traded the pick.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So everyone should be happy.
That's right. The Sabres trade pick number 11 for pick 14 and pick 42, which is in the second round.
Which is a good deal. You can't pass that up, really.
Yeah, it's great value, and, you know, there's kind of a run of players that can go anywhere in that range. So I'd take the extra capital, but you got to use it somehow, and I don't know if making more picks is going to be the way to do it.
Guess we also didn't address, last time you guys talked, the Jeff Skinner buyout was basically a foregone conclusion, and it still has not happened
Has
yet.
not happened.
They have till Sunday.
Yep.
Seattle, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple things thrown around about him going to Seattle.
With old friend Jason
The
Bottle.
guy who signed the contract.
Bob.
But
Only right he takes it back.
Here's something interesting, though. Friedman was talking about it on 32 Thoughts. He was going through, because obviously Ken Holland is going to be leaving the Oilers. And so he was talking about who the perfect candidate is. And he's like describing what the Oilers might want, the type of guy. And he only brought up Botterill. And at that point, I mean, I just started laughing. It was funny.
Bots is going to inherit a cup team and drag it to the floor.
That'd be so funny. That'd be the funniest.
That's
the funniest ending.
What's Michael Frolik up to these days?
So there's been a rumor floating around this afternoon about a possible Nikolai Ehlers, Alex Iafallo type of trade, and since that time has passed, it's kind of, I wouldn't say completely been stifled. It's still on the table, but it seems it's coming down to an extension issue. And obviously, if it's an extension issue and he won't sign, they're going to feel like they're giving up too much. So let me ask you, as the first 10 picks go, if the board isn't falling the way the Sabres want, do they just say screw it and make the trade? If there's a trade in place, this is all rumors.
I think you could tell that from Jerry Fortin in the pre-draft press conference, they don't really love the first round. So I don't think there is a way for the board to fall unless like a Berkeley Catton or like a Carter Yamachuk or Yakimchuk, if they fall to 14. I mean, that's why they traded back. Obviously, you take that deal from the Sharks, but if they don't think that, if they think there's still a chance someone they like is going to be there, they wouldn't have made that deal. So I don't think Adams really wants to make the pick. Not that he wouldn't dislike it, but I think he would much rather have, I'm sure with the Ehlers stuff or whoever else he's talked to, I'm sure if it was totally up to him, if whatever team he was talking to was willing to make the trade and the player was willing to come here and willing to sign an extension, willing to do whatever it took, we probably won't even be talking about this.
Mhm.
But there's so many hurdles to get through. So
And there's still time. There's
There is still
definitely
time.
I mean, I've been pretty adamant these past few weeks that I don't want them to make this pick, just because I know it is a weaker draft, and I guess some people would argue against that. It could show flashes of depth, but it in a vacuum over, if you're taking a 10,000-foot view over this draft over the last few, comparing it to the last few years, it doesn't hold up as much.
I'll say I wouldn't be...
welcome back, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I wouldn't be too upset if we made the pick. We've said this before, this prospect does not really add to the logjam that we got right now. He'll be on a different development path than all of our other guys. So I personally would much rather deal a prospect or two than trade the pick, and plus the prospect's probably more value. But, I mean, you're at the draft. As you get closer, that pick is going to be more valuable because teams want their guys. So it'll be interesting. At the very least, I cannot see us drafting all 3 of these first 2-round
Yeah,
picks.
I was gonna ask. So they own picks 14, 42, and 43. What are the chances they pick all 3?
I mean, I say it's definitely on the table. I think it's on the table.
I think it's
Very much in play.
It's on the table, yeah. I just think the chances should be low, and I think if they made all 3 of those picks, that would be a failure.
And the fans are going to go nuts.
Oh,
Half
for
the
sure.
fan base is going to go nuts if they make the 14th pick. Oh, Jumbo Joe's making the pick? Someone in the crowd is sitting way too
Someone
close to one of the mics.
Get that fan out of there.
There's one Sharks fan that is so hyped up right now.
There
he is. There he is. He looks like he's sitting in the middle of the crowd. He might just have like a really loud voice.
While we're still waiting, Ryan Miller and Alexander Mogilny did not make it into the Hall of Fame. Miller on his first year and McGinley on I don't know how many years.
15th.
Unbelievable.
15 years.
Yeah, apparently they don't want to put him in because they don't think he's going to show up in person to accept it. Which, who cares? Who honestly cares? I don't understand that.
It's a boys' club. Don't want to ruffle the feathers.
It's got to be something else. It just seems so weird.
That's what it
Like
is.
he just
Well, he's
deserves
totally
it.
distanced himself from the game.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the
Is there-
Sabres don't even talk about him. Seriously.
Is there a reason for that, really?
It's just
Because I know he moved back to Russia.
I think is he affiliated with like a hockey club over there? Like I thought I saw
think he is a
something like he's
GM
coaching
or
or
coach.
GM of a Russian team or I don't know. Not that should matter, but tensions are high right now.
Yeah, he's the president of Admiral in the KHL. So
I knew it
maybe
was-
that's
yeah.
kind of why. So you know him and Hasek probably don't like each other.
so. JP, we're gonna play a fun game this year. A team's gonna make a draft pick, and then I'm gonna turn to you, and I'm gonna ask if you know anything about this player.
Oh jeez.
So Macklin Celebrini, what can you tell us?
Boston University, Canadian. He's been the lock for the number 1 overall pick for a long time. Him and Will Smith are going to be a really good pairing at the Sharks. That's about it.
Levzhinov to the Blackhawks. JP, what can you tell us?
Oh, he's a defenseman. He plays at MSU. He's definitely not from the U.S.
Tall drink of water.
Yeah,
Tall man.
He looks tall. I mean, MSU's not too good of a school, so you can't be winning any championships or anything over there.
The MSU slander is
But
a constant on here.
What do you guys think about the new Ducks logo?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. This is your thing.
yeah,
I like it. I never knew that the reason they went to the orange was for Orange County, but I like that they went back to the originals, and I like that they took the ugly striping out of the jerseys. It just looked like it looked almost crosshatched because the pants were, well, the stripes underneath were going this way, and then there was stripes going another way. It was just,
they had some of the worst in
It
the
was
league.
awful.
That logo was awful too.
it's a secondary logo.
We talked about it. Webfoot just not. Did you see they updated that? I don't know if you caught that.
No, it's
they
on the shoulders
They
now, but I don't
updated,
know.
but it's a new rendition.
Oh, it is?
They
What's
updated
different?
it. It's like less, like the toes go out. It's a lot more condensed, I suppose. I'm a fan. I don't think we have enough orange teams, especially now bright orange teams. Ever since the Flyers did their massive rebrand from an orange to a slightly darker orange. I'm a fan. I don't know if I like the orange helmets and the orange pants. Might be too.
Oh, it's all orange.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's
I only
all
saw
orange.
the jerseys.
It's like the Oilers Orange Crush jerseys. And then another California team also did a rebrand. The LA Kings changed they changed their logos when they went back to their 90s.
It's better
90s
logo.
Like the Gretzky.
Better logo. I still don't like the colors.
The
Go
Los
back.
Angeles.
Why does the stripes go from like
It's so thick.
It's so big.
Yeah. The Los Angeles Chevrolets.
What do you think about now that they're the first team to go full-time matte helmets?
It looks like a bike helmet. I think this is such an overused term. It's dusty as hell. It's not. I don't like it. I hate the chrome buckets too. I don't like those. Just regular
Chrome are weird.
regular plastic.
I think it works. I actually think the chrome works great outside, not indoors. Because doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose?
I guess. You're trying to what? Like just reflect any sort of
I got like sort of
outside
yeah.
light.
I feel like I don't know. That's where they debuted. At least their chrome helmets were silver and not like an ugly gold.
like Notre Dame helmets.
Well, like the Vegas Golden
wear.
Knights.
Yeah.
So Fanatics did just do like their big, I guess, quote unquote reveal. Did you like what you saw?
It was all the same.
Which is good news.
Yeah, it's good news. They're using the same factory that's been making the jerseys
For like 50 years.
It seems that they're taking this a lot more serious than the MLB after all the shenanigans that went down with them. So it looks good so far. I was just going to say I'm excited to see what sort of like the Adidas did reverse retro and stuff. So I'm excited to see what they do.
So sorry to interject, but this is where things might get interesting because the Ducks might go with quite a few players. One of those being Seneca, who should not be going third overall. As you can see on screen, he's projected 9th. Given they took Mason McTavish, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Wow.
He's even shocked.
He's like, no way.
God. Oh my
He's like,
He just mouthed the words, holy.
he's like, what?
He's in disbelief.
He is shell-shocked.
I would be too if I was projected to go 9th.
Wow.
You go 3rd.
That's crazy.
I don't think I've ever seen a player be that surprised they got picked.
Gutsy pick. So here's where things get interesting. Demidov is still on the board, which people had him falling to 5th to Montreal, but now Lindstrom hasn't gone. Like I said, Demidov obviously hasn't gone either. So, yeah, Bouillon was like one of the highest defensemen on the board as well. He was possible to go to the Ducks. I'm interested to see where he goes now. This gets interesting, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask JP. What can you tell us about Beckett Seneke?
Oh, he's OHL player. Looks like he's had some decent seasons. He's got a pretty cool name, Beckett. I like that. Josh Beckett for Joan and I, Red Sox fans. That's all I know. I did a lot of studying on this draft, but I didn't expect him to get drafted this early. So with this pick, Columbus has.
I'm very interested to see where they go with this because there's been rumors they're going to trade it. They obviously didn't trade it. We're always in for a fun time when they make a draft pick.
And it seemed
like Caden Lindstrom was the guy here. We'll see if they're freaking out because they didn't expect Seneca to go 3rd.
I mean, it seems like they had 2 major offers for this pick too. That Carolina was going to package Martin Nichas for this pick. And also the Flyers really wanted to get this pick and would have drafted
that Flyers offer.
A roster player, a first rounder, I think next year's pick. So they've had major offers. They really have to hit on this pick or it could set their franchise back even more than they already are.
Okay.
Good pick. Good pick by Columbus. JP, what can you tell us?
He's a big boy. A lot of the older guys are going to like that pick. He's a center, played for WHL, plays for the Tigers. I don't know. He's a big boy. And, you know, there's been a lot of smaller guys, especially in this first round. I think it's a lot of smaller guys, and this is one of the few larger men. So is Demidov going to go here? Montreal going to pass on him? Or?
I think so. And I think Utah wants a defenseman. because they're rumored to go after one in free agency, and their back end pipeline isn't the greatest. So,
As the picks go on, we're going to make the pick.
I do think we are going to make the pick.
Twitter's going to be... It's going to be...
It's not going to be fun.
It's going to be a shitstorm.
It's not going to be
tonight.
fun.
What happened to Yzerman? Like, wasn't he like basically number 2
I
after
don't know.
Celebrini?
He just he was always pegged as the guy that could just shoot the puck, and this year he just shot the puck, then he fell down the board. So I don't know what they were expecting. I don't know. It's gonna be funny. Imagine telling a Sharks fan at the beginning of the season, "Oh, you're gonna get Celebrini and Yzerman."
Oh yeah, because he was the consensus number 1 overall pick basically.
Yeah, pretty much for a long time. Yeah.
All right, Montreal, you've been at 0 for 30 seconds.
Who are they
now.
gonna go with? It's probably gonna be Demidov.
They did
All right,
it.
Demidov to the
It's a
Habs.
good pick. He's pretty much the consensus number 2 overall talent in this draft, but he's Russian.
Depending on who you talk to.
He
But
looks like
he's-
a Russian cyborg.
He's Russian. He's smaller. He played in the MHL, and he didn't get that much ice time, but he's got the potential to be one of the best players in this draft.
I think there was questions about him. There was also questions about his production, just because the KHL is sort of a declining league.
It's almost like I predicted this before we started recording. Everyone's like, "Oh, this might be a year where there's a ton of trades," just like they say every year, and then nothing.
Well, I will say this: the top 5 was pretty consensus, although I'm sure Seneca threw that off. But also, we did already beat last year's trade quota because last year was 0, and we have had 2 trades. 4 picks. So the Utah Hockey Club is on the board next. Dickinson, Buium, Perek, Yakimchuk. A lot of defensemen on the board. Wow.
There he goes.
Tej goes to Utah?
And he's got the color on already.
Wow.
He's got the
That's
suit
going to
color
shake
on.
up the board. Wow.
Yeah, that's 5 picks early, pretty much. Well, Christian, what do you know about T.J. Ginla?
He's Jerome McGinley's son. He's going 6th overall in the draft. He's from British Columbia, 6 foot, 191 pounds, and he's not even 18 years old yet. From what I've heard, he's been rising up the board over the past couple of months. Obviously, that's in part due to his play, but also I think a lot of people, the Ginla name is hyped. I think that may have contributed to it too. But
Say this, they got all the Nepo babies now. Him and Josh Doan.
oh yeah, Josh Doan is on the team.
Here comes our favorite team.
I'm surprised they have a pick this year.
Yes, actually.
That
is surprising.
That is new.
Hey, it could still go.
It could still go. They did trade one earlier this week, which I guess we did not talk about.
They had 2 first rounders this year.
They did. They had the 25th overall pick, which I believe they got back in the Alex DeBrincat trade to Detroit. So what do you think about it? What do you think about Linus Ullmark staying in the Atlantic?
That's a good move for Ottawa. I mean, no doubt. Who knows if he's going to sign an extension? If he doesn't, then it just adds to their list of players that have been traded there, then walk. But they needed a goalie. They got rid of Korpisalo's contract.
Kind of.
But I don't know. That's a really good move, I think, by them.
Dude, the Senators actually have a really good chance of taking someone good. The board is definitely falling their way.
They got all the resources at their disposal.
Wow. They went Yakimchuk at 7. That's high upside. They're swinging high. It's not like it's a low floor pick, but wow. He's the first. They do need right-handed defensemen. They do. So I understand that.
Where is he ranked?
He's he was top 10-ish. He was sort of more in the Sabres range. I just probably wouldn't go him before Buium and Dickinson or even Perek or Siliev. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would have gone him there.
Dude, it's going to be the way this board is falling. We traded the 11th.
It's true.
This could bite us.
It could. It probably won't.
If there's someone worth noting sitting there at 11 who's way,
Well, there's gonna
way
be
falling down the
someone.
board.
Like if it's Cat, and I'll be a little. I guess I'll be a little sad, but they're fine. You'd make that trade 100 times out of 100. You got a second round pick to move back 3 spots.
Yeah, that'd be bad GMing if you didn't take that pick.
If people somehow criticize Adams for not keeping 11th overall, I swear to God,
That would be hilarious.
that might be it for me. Are you gonna take that stance
What?
that we should have kept 11th
No,
overall?
No.
I don't know.
No. It's a great trade. It's like that's just you don't have that kind of foresight. It's like
Well, I know.
if I made that argument, it'd be a completely irrational argument.
There will be people that make that argument. That's a good pick for Seattle. Catton at 9.
Yeah. Can't get mad at that either because
He's
he
still
didn't
falling.
make it to
Boom's
11.
still there. Oh my God, how is he falling?
Why is he
All
falling?
the defensemen are falling.
Is he small? Like, why is he falling?
People just.
The
It's just an interesting draft class. That's all it is.
The Sabres are keeping this pick now. With
Yeah.
all the defensemen falling, they're keeping this pick. There's no trade that's going to happen. No, you know what? Hold on. This might be good. If we want to get into a trade with Winnipeg, if they're seeing how this board is falling right now
Maybe.
and all the value they can get,
That's
Perhaps
this could sweeten the
Perhaps.
deal.
It's a
you
good
might
point.
be coping a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm definitely coping. But I know Kevin Adams got out of his seat. Maybe it was to get a chicken finger basket. Maybe it was to talk to a GM. I don't know. Name Perek.
That's a good pick. You know, Williams still on the board.
It was
but
projected to where he was going to go.
This is about where he was projected to go. So I'm interested to see who New Jersey goes with here. They have their fair share of left-handed defense. Well, fair share of defensemen. San Jose, it seems like a guarantee they're going Yzerman.
Well, that's what we think.
So
Like,
here's
do
the
we
thing.
know that?
What?
Do we know that, or is that just like
That was like what everybody was pointing to. But they do need defensemen. So it might be a smokescreen. Devils go with Salayev. All right. Good pick. He is projected to go top 10.
People are on my nerves with that. Could you see into the future? Like, did you know the board was going to fall this way?
It just makes me mad. Like, if they
It's
did it,
such
if
a
they
lazy
did it,
argument.
If they do it right now, then it's like fine, okay. Like you knew but going into there was not a single person saying that going in after that trade. Like, oh, Boone might still be there. Like,
Well, Sam
so
Dickinson.
Dickinson goes to San Jose. So they needed a defenseman. I think it would be the funniest end game scenario is they still got him. If they still got Bouillon.
who is Danny gonna take? Little discussion.
Little
Got some
discussion
trade
with
talks
Gary
possibly.
Bettman. Do we have a trade?
Oh,
Danny's
on
Danny's
the phone.
on the phone.
Danny's on the phone.
The Sabres are trading back up.
Oh my God! Imagine.
I mean that.
All that
That took
way.
that long?
Seriously.
A 3-pick swap.
So it was. What I'm assuming is it's apparent that they knew who the Flyers are going to take, and it was their guy.
I mean, it's a good trade for the Flyers.
You get an
You
extra
get a
third
round pick for moving back 1 pick, and I'm assuming they know who Minnesota's going to take.
And now Minnesota's on the clock.
Minnesota just didn't want someone to trade up in front of them, basically.
So the Wild need a defenseman. I can only imagine the reason they're trading
It's,
up.
it's
is to
probably
take
him.
Bouillon.
It's probably Bouillon. Bouillon.
And Twitter has officially lost its mind.
Let's head to Twitter.
All right.
Here we go. We're on the
The
clock.
Sabres are on the board.
We're on the clock.
They're on the clock. The Sabres are on the clock.
Hopefully not for long because we're trading this pick.
Oh, jeez.
So Cole Yzerman is still there.
He is still
He
there.
is still there. I wouldn't love it, but
Victor Olofsson 2.0.
I would like the upside. The upside is undeniable. It is funny. You know, the last few years, it's definitely been a lot of nervous excitement when the Sabres were on the clock because you knew who was there each time. So, a bit calmer this time around.
Very true.
They go with Helenius.
Konsta Helenius.
All right.
He kind of looks like Darlene.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It's a fine pick. I'm sure some people will be upset at it.
Konsta Helenius. All right.
I will not be upset at that pick. It is what it is. People are going to be upset they didn't.
Should have traded the pick, but welcome to Buffalo. Top comment.
What I will say is, it's not because Kevin Adams didn't try. I'm not giving him an excuse. He should have got the deal across, but it sounds like he was working the phones. Now, with this, we just drafted another center. Does this make, like, Noah Ostlund or Savoy, some centers, does it make them more on the chopping block?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, something's got to happen. I mean, if you think about it, like the trades we're talking about, they're still in play. Like our first round pick is gone, but we have a first round next year.
We still have all of our prospects.
We have a bunch of prospects.
It's not Jover. It's not.
No, it is not.
It definitely takes a possibility away.
Okay, so we're a few minutes removed from Konsta Helenius, the 14th overall pick, going to the Buffalo Sabres. Initial reactions. Now, even I, as someone who read up on a lot of the prospects, I didn't think he was really a realistic guy for the Sabres at 11, and I didn't really look into him once things changed at 14. And obviously, you guys didn't really look into this draft class as much either. But after a few minutes, after digesting the situation, reading what other people had to say, first impressions.
It seems like a very good pick. You can be upset that we made the pick, but I don't think you can really be upset with the pick. I mean, multiple NHL scouts had him in the top 5. 2 had him as number 3. One of the analytics guys on Twitter had him ranked at number 4. He's kind of like a year away from the NHL almost. He's very NHL ready. I think it was a very good pick. If there's one thing that I really won't question, it is Kevin Adams' draft picks. He's been a very good drafter. But if people want to be upset that we didn't trade the pick, I think that's completely understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would slot myself into that category of I'm upset we didn't get the pick traded. I want to put my blind faith in Kevin Adams, but he's yet to acquire a top guy, like a big dog in a trade. He hasn't been on that. He's been on the side of stockpiling picks and draft picks and, bottom feeder players and all that stuff, but he hasn't been on the other side of it yet. And yes, taking this pick, I'm very happy with the pick. Konsta Helenius has pulled comparisons to what I'm reading could be a William Nylander type. I've also seen he's like an Arturi Lehkonen type. But at the end of the day, we got so many guys in this system. Like the logjam somehow just got larger. This draft isn't over. It's a long off season. There could be a lot of trades being made, but at this point in time, I'm not very comfortable with where we're sitting, and that's on the GM to fix.
Unfortunately, you can't talk about this pick without addressing the elephant in the room, the fact that nothing has been done yet to add to this roster. That said, from all intents, from everything I've read, this is a good pick for the Sabres. This is a player who is probably closer to the NHL than a lot of people might think. He's not a high-end skill guy. Like, he's not like Matthew Savoy or even, Yuri Kulik, who those are skill guys. They have traits, individual traits that put them ahead of their peers. Helenius is a very complete player, and that's why you might see him. He's probably going to impress at development camp. And I don't know, maybe he'll do something interesting in preseason. This is a player that I think we're going to be looking back on in even just a year or so and be like, man, that was a good pick. He's a welcomed addition to the system. But the other side of that, they haven't made a trade to help the team yet. And look, I tweeted it out. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be angry yet if when we record our free agency episode, whenever that is, and your biggest additions are like, I don't even know. If you go into free agency and you sign like, I don't know, like Colin Miller's your top 4 addition, and your only forward addition is like, Jesus, if they trade for Scott Lawton, then I'm going to be like, okay, I have some not so nice words to say about the team, about Kevin Adams' ability to upgrade the roster. And I promise you, I will say those words if in a week's time we are in the same spot. Right now, I'm just going to hold off on it. I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting flashbacks to last year, where we sat on this night, feeling great about the Zach Benson pick and feeling optimistic heading into free agency, and not knowing Jack Quinn was going to be injured 12 hours later, and not knowing that there wasn't going to be a single forward free agent addition, and that your top 4 defensive additions were going to be atrocious. I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting flashbacks, but I'm holding off. Kevin Adams has not spoken tonight yet. Right now, we have the draft on in the background. Cole Eiserman just went to the New York Islanders. Adams is going to speak tonight. I'm sure he's going to say the words. We had some things lined up. It fell apart, or we got close, but it didn't cross the finish line, or maybe we'll revisit it as time continues. I don't know. He's probably going to say those words, and it's probably going to make people not happy, and deservedly so. You can't get away with that this year. There's no excuse.
Nope.
If you have to overpay, I'm sorry. You're in a position where you might have to overpay.
And that's fine. You have so many assets to your disposal. Even if you overpaid a little bit, I really don't think the fan base would look at it as a bad thing. Now, you don't want to go out and get fleeced, but I'm saying if you have to throw in an extra prospect, if you have to throw in an extra pick to get a deal done to get you a top 6 guy in like a middle 6-4, like this Nikolai Ehlers trade with Alex Iafallo that was going around today on Twitter. Like if it's something like that where they want a little bit extra, just do them the favor. Just get them that little bit extra. I understand you've been working to get these guys NHL ready, and you've been talking about development all these years, and that's all fine and good, but you have to address the roster now in a more drastic way than you did last offseason, because I'm right there with you. If we're sitting here on July 7th and this roster is, it's not upgraded at all, and most of the free agents are gone to other teams, there's going to be some serious conversation about where they're going to go next, especially going into the season where it's just going to be a bunch of question marks again.
I'll give him a week. I'm not going to get too upset this weekend. Like, it's still June 28th. Trades can happen after the draft. Like, we've seen it before. We still have all of our prospects. Like, nothing changes there. Like, so I'll give him a week. Like, I'm starting to get nervous. I mean, I've defended Adams at every turn, but if he doesn't upgrade the team, he's done. Like, this is it for him. Like, this is his last offseason. Like, he needs to make moves now. And don't get me wrong, he does not have an easy job. Players don't want to come to Buffalo. Like, if Ehlers wanted to come to Buffalo, he'd probably be on the team right now. Like, that was a rumor going around that he didn't want to sign the extension, or that maybe he didn't want to waive his no trade clause if that's what he has. He doesn't have an easy job, but he has no excuses. He has to get it done. Like, this is... You can't wait any longer.
You got to put these teams in positions where they can't say no to your offer.
Yep.
You have that luxury right now. You have maybe 1 or 2 of those kinds of trades that you can make. After that, it'll be to a point where you have to kind of, go back to square one, because your pool will be a little deplenished. But yeah, I completely agree with you. This needs to be addressed ASAP. And I'm also in the same boat. Not going to get mad yet. We're June 28th. We've seen trades happen. Sam Reinhart got traded at 11:30, basically, at the end of this round. The only thing you lost in this draft was your first-round pick, but you turned it into what could be a really great center prospect.
That's true. I mean, look, if they drafted a defenseman, let's say, like, I'm not going to address the Zeev Williams stuff. If you listen to any of our previous reactions, I'm not going to have the conversation about getting mad at him trading back. I'm just not even going to get into it. If there's, for people that are Williams fans, I get that. If you like the player from the start, but for anyone that suddenly became mad that Adams traded the pick because something unexpected happened,
it's hypocritical.
It's not even just hypocritical. It's just it's unfair. It's unfair to Adams. Criticize him in a fair way. If you, I'm gonna move on from it. But let's say that they drafted a Zane Parekh, or they were the team to go, like, if Yakimchuk didn't go so early and they took him at 14. Like, that would be kind of, I wouldn't call it worrying, but you would say, all right, they got their right-handed guy. They're not going to take much out of that. Look, they just drafted another center, right? They have too many. They had too many before going into tonight. Now they have one more. Now they can really, really survive a hit if they need to overpay for a player. If they have to dangle a roster player plus a prospect plus a B prospect, like, if that's what you have to do, and I'll say right now, if they end up trading for Nikolai Ehlers, let's say, because that's the hot name, because there were whispers going around today. If that's the hot name, and the deal for him without an extension is like Peyton Krebs and Isaac Roseanne, and you have to give up like a Ryan Johnson, like, that's a lot. That is a lot for a pending UFA. But I think that's just the situation you're in. Like, you have to survive that. And I'll address the Ehlers stuff a bit more, like, hypothetically, because, there was a lot of theories going around with Anthony Chandra's tweet from Expected Buffalo. He was hearing some stuff, and it was about Ehlers, and, it hasn't materialized yet. And it seems, from the theories, that part of it was due to Ehlers not wanting to sign a contract extension right away, right? And if you trade for Ehlers with no extension in place, but you get him to waive to come to Buffalo, that means one thing, that the player is saying, hey, I'll come to Buffalo. I'm waiving my no-trade clause because I see the talent. I see the opportunity. I'm going to come here. I'm going to help you guys try to win. But you are in a 13-year playoff drought, and it is a running joke that players are doing exceptionally better away from this franchise. So no, I'm not going to sign a contract extension right away. It has to be proven to me that this is a good fit. Then you need to take your chances. And especially if you're Kevin Adams, and let's say the Nikolai Ehlers trade falls apart, you overpaid. Guess what? It's the next GM's problem. It is the next GM's problem to figure out how to rebound from that. And the best part is you're still equipped with prospects in the system. Like, even if you gave up as much as I said, if it was Krebs and it was Ryan Johnson, and I'll even go a bit higher end. Like, let's say they gave up Savoy in that deal. Like, any NHL fan would look at that and be like, that's an overpayment. Let's say Krebs, Savoy, and Ryan Johnson. That's your trade for Nikolai Ehlers. Screw it. Let's say straight up, right? I wouldn't be happy. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, the Sabres won that trade. But let's say Ehlers left the next year in free agency. We still have Yuri Kulik. You still have Noah Ostlund. You still have Konsta Helenius. You still have, Isaac Roseanne. You have all those names. Like, it's time. Give me one big trade. And, this could be all mush because maybe Ehlers didn't want to waive his no-trade clause, or if someone like Buchnevich didn't want to. Like, this is the problem. I mean, the NHL, like, half the league has a no-trade clause. Jordan Greenway has an 8-team no-trade list. Like, it's an annoying obstacle, and it's especially annoying at this place right now with the Sabres. Buffalo is not always going to be an undesired location. It never was. Look at Edmonton right now. Like, Corey Perry would not have signed with the Edmonton Oilers 10 years ago. But now they're a desirable location, not just because they have the greatest player of all time, but because they're a Stanley Cup contender. You just have to do it once. The Sabres just have to break the drought, and attracting players will no longer be an issue. And I know this is a long rant, but my point is, I don't care about the overpayment. You just do it. Do it. And and if you're Kevin, like, I'm the fan. I'm the one that's not going away. So I want this even more. And if you're the GM that is possibly going to be gone within a year, then you do it even more. You do it even more because you could walk away. You'll have a tarnished legacy. You'll be a failed GM, whatever. But at least you tried. You tried your best to make this team a contender, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it's better that, it's better to strike out swinging than to let the ball go past you and, walk back to the dugout. So
For all of the jokes that we make about the Senators, they at least tried what we're talking about right now.
the Red Wings are in the same boat. They're in the exact same boat.
No, but here, because we've talked about the Senators a lot, and myself specifically, I went on a rant about this a long time ago about comparing yourself to the Senators, and that's dangerous. But the difference between the Senators and the Sabres is that they've swung and missed multiple times. The Sabres still have not made that swing, and even the Senators, they were they were swinging with a 2-strike count the entire time. The Sabres are up 3-0. They have so many chances to knock one out of the park with their prospects. They have so many chances, and they have fallback options. That's why it has to be done. Give me one overpayment trade if it has to be done. It can't. And I know the Kevin Adams knows this. I think he knows this.
No, he knows.
And I'll
this.
say
He's
this.
not stupid.
And I have not
this.
rewatched the video of them announcing the pick. He didn't look happy going up there.
Until he got to the stage, he looked pissed.
He had a straight face. He kind of had a frown on his face. And then when he was going up the steps to speak to the commissioner or say hi to the commissioner, he put on his smile. I'm sure he wasn't happy to make this pick. Really, we've been hearing for weeks, and this isn't just whispers. This isn't just the guys that expected Buffalo or Frank Saravalli. This is Elliot Friedman, Jeff Merrick saying weeks on end. You had Corey Pronman saying that the Sabres wanted to trade this pick. And
Kevin at
the
draft yesterday or Tuesday.
He said he's wide open to trade the 11th over. He said yesterday he was wide open to trade the pick. I'm sure he wanted to trade it, and it's not good enough. But I will say, I do think he's trying. Yeah, and I know it's not comfortable. It's not a comforting thought to admit that. I know, but I'm saying he is. I'm not gonna sit here this isn't last summer where was he exploring trades? Probably, but did he have the killer instinct? Did he really want to make the trade? No. I have faith he wants to. It's just he's probably running into more obstacles than he thought.
He's running into obstacles. Maybe he is still holding on too tightly to the prospects, but I have no doubt in my mind that he's trying. Maybe he cannot get over the finish line, and that's all on him, but he's definitely trying this offseason. I mean, multiple people were tweeting pictures that Kevin Adams is on the phone. Oh, he just got up from his seat. There's no doubt he's trying, but he's got no excuses.
Regimes ever, because when Darcy was the GM, it was when I was a kid up until when he got fired, and it was just it's just time for a change. But the other GMs that were around here, I didn't really care for, and I was rooting to get fired pretty early on. The way I've seen him turn this franchise around, I want it to work with him. I really do. And sure, he's made some tough signings with Eric Johnson and the Connor Clifton contract. Every GM has their ups and downs, but I think this one, coming into this offseason, this is it. I want this to work with him so badly because I know how good he is for our organization, but you're right. It's almost full count time. It's you got to go, at least you just got to go down swinging. You can't let the ball go by you. You can't, you can't say what if. You can't look back on it and be like, what if I did this? What if I did that? You just got to, and you're right, Jonah. It is the next GM's problem. That's not your problem anymore. And he's already done such a good job that even if he did trade a bunch of guys away and it didn't work out with whoever he traded for and he got fired, we still would have a ton of people.
Genuinely, I think he's not going to sleep much tonight Because
No, God, no.
he's like, oh my God, like I may have just blown like a big opportunity. Like I made the pick I didn't want to. I'll say, as much as like I've said, like look, we can make the first round pick. I don't think you can make both second round picks. There has to be some sort of move.
I mean, what about next year's first round pick? Do you think that would be
That's
in play?
fine if they dangle that. Like,
Yeah.
fine. If that's what it takes.
Hopefully we're good, and it doesn't matter.
You're right.
And we're picking like I'm not gonna say we're picking 30, but if we're picking 21, 22, that's right. That's a playoff team. Like who cares?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. It's been a frustrating day all around. Again, I'm not at a point to start really criticizing him, but like all day today at work, I had my phone near me. I was just like, when is this going down? There's got to be a trade being made. And then as every hour passed closer to the draft, I was just like, oh, this is going to be exactly what was going on last year. It was just going to be stay put. Well, I guess we didn't stay put. We traded the pick. But it was going to be see how the board falls and continue to do your due diligence. And that's what happened. And it's disappointing.
It is disappointing. Man, it's exhausting because
really
the
is.
anticipation it's getting to everyone. You know, it feels like, some people are already at the point of no return with Adams. And it's hard to even converse with those people because they're just so dead set. Like, it's not going to happen until it happens. And it's like, I understand that. I do. It just, in my opinion, it still doesn't make it the right mindset. It's just, I understand why people think this way. Adams did this to himself. And Matthew Fairburn brought up a good point. He said, like, a lot, because the Sabres have to do a lot this offseason. And it would have been a lot easier if they had at least done one thing last offseason. Like, going after a top six forward, if that was the only problem, then that's manageable. Then people are not freaking out. But you need another defenseman, and you need a few bottom six forwards. And it's like, if one of those things was done last offseason, your job is made a hell of a lot easier, and your moves haven't worked out. They just haven't. And now you're stuck trying to leap over more hurdles than you set yourself up for. Because if you would have done that last year, like the Sabres were coming off of players no trade list last year. We had gotten word about that. This year they've likely gone back on, and it's like, even if you just made one addition last year, it makes this offseason easier to stomach.
Let's just hope that every single hole is not going to be filled in free agency, because I don't think
That's a recipe for disaster.
It's not a strong free agency class, first of all. And second of all, Kevin Adams has sucked in free agency.
I could feel the frustration in this room, too. It's hard to find the words sometimes to just express how frustrating this actually is. As a city and as a team, we don't deserve a playoff drought of this caliber. I feel like we're right there. We have such a great prospect pool, and we said that in years past. But I saw a tweet. I can't remember. Like someone ranks the Sabres the second best prospect pool back in like 2018, and it was like Alex Nylander number one, and then just a bunch of randos, Gooley and all those. That was just terrible luck and also terrible drafting. This is completely different.
Yeah.
We've actually been above 500 team the last two seasons. I feel like we're right there. He just needs to make that one additional move. And I feel like we're all collectively screaming at our phones, and he could hear us. I know he could hear us. He 100% does. I think he's just being a little too conservative.
I mean, this fan base, in the midst of a 13-year playoff drought, had, I believe, the third best rankings for the Stanley Cup final, like for cities around the nation.
U.S. cities.
The city isn't giving up. It's just it's frustrating.
It was literally Miami, West Palm Beach, and then us, and then I think Pittsburgh.
We do get a trade, by the way.
Yeah, it sounds like the Leafs are trading the pick to Anaheim.
What are they cooking?
That's a
Oh, they get an extra pick.
that's
All
a
right.
pretty fair value trade, I feel like.
Man, this is a far cry from last year's draft reaction. I just remember being over the moon. Like, you got Benson and you're heading into free agency with all that cap and so much hope, and Jack Quinn, the announcement comes out the next day and it just spirals from there.
But I think we're in a better mindset than we were last year. Last year it was kind of blissful
Well, we're all
ignorance.
united because people are arguing, because last year it's like, okay, what do they do? You have all these prospects and you have all this internal building. Do you continue to keep it internal? Or do you splurge? Do you pull in Ottawa? Do you go out and get a big ticket free agent or go all in on a trade? And we know what route Kevin Adams took, and it was the wrong one. And so you know that that's not the way to go, especially at the time. Because looking back on it, it was dumb to do that because you were never going to have that much wealth and that many resources at one time. And, who knows if he had any strings attached to how much he could spend or what he could spend. I'm not going to get into that, but who knows? But the point is that screw up by Adams came at a bad time because you were 12 years into a playoff drought. And if that didn't work out, serious doubt was going to be created. And here we are where the doubt is mounting. And it's hard to find a positive spin on tonight other than just it was a good pick.
And it sucks because Konsta Helenius, I think he's going to be a great player. And I wish we were talking more about how good of a player he could become, but it's just not the story of the night. All this buildup led to what we didn't want. But again, we got a good player out of it. I think we did get a good player out of it. But we're spinning our tires again. We gotta make a move. Something has to change. And hopefully the next time we record, there have been significant changes to not only the top six, but also maybe the middle six. Maybe a defenseman comes onto the roster, and who knows? Maybe they throw a goalie in there just to spice things up. I don't know.
Don't piss me off and do that. I'll get really pissed off if they get a goalie. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people mocking a goalie to the Sabres in the offseason.
Which is so dumb.
I think it's dumb.
Because it's like, yeah, you were doing the same thing last year. You had Comrie on your roster and you weren't using them because you had Luukkonen and Levi. So I think the smart idea is to just roll with those guys, and if one of them gets hurt, you just have a guy waiting for him in the AHL, and you just you manage.
FYI, this picture came out. It was 10 minutes ago, but Kevin Adams is still on the phone. Like, he's still trying. Obviously, that would involve probably our second.
Because because I'll say this, he knows what the first, other than the first question is to be like, oh, what do you think about the pick, or why did you like him? The second question is going to be like, did you try to move that pick? And he's going to roll his eyes, and he's probably going to be like, yes, I've been trying all friggin' month.
It was a weak draft too. So not only was it a weak draft, you're in Buffalo. It's a tough place to trade players, especially when everyone seemingly has a no trade clause, a no move clause. He's not. He's in a very difficult. He's probably in he's playing expert mode GM right now.
That is, yeah.
That's probably an accurate way of putting it. Look, and okay, my last point of it's not like it's copium, right? Like I'm coping with the fact that nothing's been done, but other than the Mangiapane trade. And I guess Pierre-Luc Dubois, which both going to Washington, weirdly enough. Nobody else has moved yet.
Nope.
That's the only thing. Like, if Ehlers was gone, if Buchnevich had been traded, if Konechny found a home, or even if, Trevor Zegras found a home, or, I don't know, who else? Even if Natchez found a home. We haven't even addressed the Martin Natchez stuff.
No.
I guess we can touch on that. Supposedly, LeBrun connected the Hurricanes, possibly wanting to move back into the top 10, and the Sabres were brought up as a name. I didn't buy that the Sabres were really going to do that. It felt fake, and I think we've kind of seen it was fake. But I would still assume that the Sabres have checked in on Natchez. That's still a guy. If that's what you have to do, then so be it. You have to do something. But if he had moved, and if all the other big names were moving, and if your only hope, if now you're looking at free agency, well, it's like, shoot, do we have to overpay for Patrick Kane now, or do we have to throw the bag at Steven Stamkos? There's rumor, apparently the Sabres are going to be taking a run at him. If you're heading into free agency and your trade options are already limited and now you're just forced to overspend, then I would be even more worried. But nothing has happened. So I'm just remaining calm for now. I know I don't sound very calm tonight, but
we're not at DEFCON 1. We're at DEFCON 3.
We're getting there.
We're like between. It's from 1 to 5. We're at 3.
Is 1 the worst?
1 is the worst.
I thought 1 was.
I'm pretty sure 5's the worst.
No, I'm
See,
pretty sure
we were
1
having an argument about this. Remember what phrasing were we arguing about?
What?
And I was like, JP would be here to correct us. This was on like the last episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure DEFCON 5's the worst.
What was it? What were we talking about?
Somebody made an analogy. Oh, I said, oh, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Oh,
and you were like, is that the saying? And I'm like, well, you know what? This is where JP would come in and tell us you're an idiot.
Christian's right.
See.
Okay.
DEFCON 1.
All right.
Yeah, 5 is.
So we're like 3.
We're at 3. Either way, we're at 3.
Technically, it doesn't really matter. It says DEFCON 1's never really happened.
Right, because it's nuclear war.
Yeah. So
it's literally everyone's dead.
Yeah. DEFCON 2 is the highest, and that's when the Cuban Missile happened. Cuban Missile Crisis.
And what is DEFCON 1
and again during
for the Sabres?
Operation Desert Storm.
DEFCON 1 for the Sabres is if Ralph Kruger comes back into the organization, and he's immediately appointed president of hockey ops.
Like we all wanted at one point. Don't forget about that.
Oh my God, we did. We're like, just make him the president of hockey ops, and we'll figure out the GM.
Okay, where were we before we?
Do you want to address the free agent defenseman?
Yeah, and we never really got around to it, but I mean, it's already drying up quick. Pesci's supposedly going to New Jersey. Matt Roy is going to get the bag thrown at him by, Toronto is supposedly all in on Chris Tanev if he hits free agency, and then if they fail out on Tanev, it's going to be probably Matt Roy. So that really doesn't leave you with much. Dylan DeMello re-signed in Winnipeg. He would have been amazing. So, even your options are already slipping through your fingers. Like, they're already drying up. I mean, who else? Zadorov's going to hit free agency, but he's going to get paid the bag. I mean, I heard a rumor he might get as much as like a 6 by 6.5. So stay tuned for that. Even like Tyler Myers, like if he fell to free agency, like there would have been Lindy Ruff connections.
Bringing back Alumni Plaza legend while he re-signed.
So he re-signed. You're really left with like Colin Miller, Yanni Hakanpää, Troy Stetcher. Like those are your right-handed options. So
or you trade for John Marino.
My only thing is like John Marino just makes too much sense. There's way too much sense. I feel like he'd be a player to waive his no trade clause because he played under Lindy and had very good seasons. Ventura and Kermanos signed him to the contract he is currently on when he was in Pittsburgh. He's right-handed. He's 27. He does things he does things that other players on the roster can't do defensively. It's a slam dunk. Like perfect instance. Do what it takes to get him to your team. Unless New Jersey is straight up coming out and saying we're not going to trade you to an Eastern Conference rival, which would be weird because it's not even in division. Unless that's what they're saying, like you need to get that type of deal done. But looking at the rest of your defensive options, they're sparse. They are. Yep. I don't know, and I mean we can touch on Jeff Skinner, like JP was alluding to earlier. Still hasn't been bought out. There's rumor. Now I want to say rumors, but like people are theorizing, like maybe they're still trying to trade him. They have till Sunday night, so by the time we record next, we'll know what their decision is. There is another buyout window in August, so maybe it drags out, and maybe they just try to navigate, or at least find a spot for him in the early days of free agency before all the GMs go off to their cabins. There's things to watch. So I guess,
I could see something happening tomorrow. Between now and when the buyout window ends, there will at least be guaranteed there will be one piece of Sabres news. It will either be if Jeff Skinner's bought out or not bought out.
I will be unhappy if they make both second round picks. I will be a little unhappy.
Well, so will I.
Completely fair.
That's completely fair. I will be unhappy too because it's like, again, you're not filling a need. You're not.
But what if it's like,
Your need is the roster.
what if it's like, oh, you trade one of the second round picks for Scott Lawton?
I wouldn't.
No.
Like the thing that's scary with Lawton is like he strikes me as like a Sobotka or a Berglund or a Cody Eakin, where it's like, all right, this guy's at the cliff. You might even argue he's fallen off. So like, can we not get someone on the edge of the cliff? But like, if you threw a second round pick at him, like, fine. I get, like, I wouldn't be happy.
I don't
but like
want
it'd
it.
be something. Like, I can't do this forever where it's like, I want an addition. Ew, not that guy. Like, you can have questions. Like, the Nature stuff I was very against because I don't like that contract, and I have serious doubts over whether or not he's a good player. And I think it's different in that scenario because you need to trade prime assets and prime cap space to lock him down. Whereas if you're throwing a second round pick at Scott Lawton, it's a bit different. I don't want to do that, but like I said, I can't keep doing this forever where I'm so picky where your options are limited. So I don't think you can really justify having both second round picks made by the end of the day tomorrow.
I agree. I agree completely. I'm just saying, if we do end up making a trade with that second round pick, I don't think we can be upset with what it is.
I wouldn't say you can't be upset, but you can't be like,
No, I
you can't be at a loss for word. You can't be like, why did you do this?
No, I think I could definitely be upset about it because we saw we saw things like that last year. I mean, I guess it wasn't more of a trade, but it was more of like, you sign Connor Clifton and Eric Johnson in the offseason and you're like, "Oh, maybe they'll be good." You don't know. No, you need to go out and you need to get a bona fide guy because you can't keep plugging these scrubs into the roster and pray that they work. You need to go out and get a guy in a trade or in free agency where you look at that guy and you're just like, he's going to benefit my team, and I know it with 100% guarantee. Not you bring in Connor Clifton, you're like, he played minutes with the Bruins. I don't know, maybe he's good in the top pair. Maybe he could play with Dahlin. Maybe he'll be on the third pairing defenseman. And then you got Eric Johnson. Yeah, maybe he could play a limited role. Maybe he's a leadership role. I don't know. Is he really bringing like any sort of benefit to the team? You need to find a guy where you just look at him and you're like, yes, that's the guy. He's going to score goals. He's going to put the puck in the net. He's going to benefit my team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's just, unfortunately, it's like,
I know it's
like,
tough.
like, does that guy want to come to Buffalo?
Right.
It's like, probably not.
You overpay
and
for
it
him.
just makes last summer that much more frustrating because you were like, you still had that handicap, but like, it's like you had one, right last year you had like one hand tied behind your back. Now you've got both, and arguably like your legs are tied together too. So you're on the ground, your limbs are tied to one another. You can barely move. You can barely do anything. So as much as like I want to say like it's tough. It's like it doesn't matter. Like you have to find a way.
And to speak on like what we should have done last year, other than getting Lindy Ruff, our perception, league-wide perception, is way lower than it was last year. There were lots of people saying Sabres could be like an underdog team to make the playoffs, make a push. No one's
even
talking
said underdog.
about us.
I really wouldn't have even said underdog.
That's true. Not
People
even
were
really
pegging
underdog.
us because solely on the basis that they finished with 90 points the year before. Solely off of that, they were pegging us to hit like 100 points. Like that stuff matters. Now, what do you think a team is saying right now about the Sabres? Or like a player?
It's a big fat question mark.
It's probably, I don't know, like you just need one domino to fall. Like
I was thinking mid.
you probably just have to make a big splash. And you know what? Like it doesn't even have to be a big splash. Like if your addition is Trevor Zegras, fine.
I'd be fine with.
Like it's an experiment. It doesn't fall to what Christian was saying, where it's like this guy's bona fide, but like there's something there, and it's also to the point where it's like, okay, fine, that's your top six. I see what you're doing. Now let's attack the bottom six. Now let's go after the top 4D. Like something has to be done, and it's for anybody listening to this. It's the last 40 minutes have just been echoing the same thing.
Yep.
Do something. Do something. I understand there's obstacles, but it's just I don't know. I'm nervous. It's funny. We're so negative. Like I'm happy with the Helenius pick. Really, I am. Everything I'm reading, I love. Like this is a different type of player, and there's just like he's sort of like Zach Benson in the sense that two-way player, smart, good on the forecheck, just has really good all-around skills. But I still think it's different. Like he's not hindered by his foot speed as much as Zach Benson. He's probably not as smart, but it's another one of those players that they don't have. Like it's like I said, he's not a Savoy, he's not a Kulik, where just one skill of his puts him above the rest of his class. It's more than that. There's more to him, and I think you're going to be surprised by how much closer he is to the NHL. So, as for the pick itself, like I don't want to say thrilled, but like I'm very happy. Very happy.
Hopefully we have a more positive light to shed on this team in the following weeks in the next few episodes, because this is frustrating. And I'm not gonna talk about it again because we just talked about it like 5 times. So let's hope he makes some moves. Kevin Adams, this is it. Show us what you got.
Quite honestly, it will probably be either we have a positive outlook because Kevin Adams made some moves, or we're going to be calling for Kevin Adams' head. Like, I think that's how it's going to be in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, come September, if this roster isn't, it just on paper you could look at it and you're like, this is not up to snuff.
I did mention
Not
this
even
earlier.
September, like
I
mid-July.
could be evil. The Jeff Skinner trade did happen on August 2nd. Could you imagine Kevin Adams just starts like he just wakes up one week in August and just bang 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 bang.
He's like, screw it, we'll be ball. Like, here we go. Everybody's
like,
counting me out.
Fine, I'll be a GM today.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even. It sucks. It's you can't. There's not even things to criticize, right? There's nothing tangible to criticize. True. It's all theory. Like we could literally look like idiots. He could make a trade by the end of the night. By the time we hit stop record,
We just wasted
Ehlers
45
could be
minutes.
a Sabre. I would still put this out there for everybody to laugh at. It could be funny. We could wake up tomorrow morning, and that's a very real possibility. And if so, we'll probably record an emergency episode if something happens. We could look very stupid very quickly. There's nothing tangible to go off of here. It's just all, I don't know what to call it, theoretical. It's just all hypothetical. But as of right now, he just doesn't have anything to show for it. Well, I think maybe we'll see what Adams has to say, and then we'll do some more closing thoughts. All right, so we just heard Adams give his closing thoughts on the draft. Nothing insanely insightful. Obviously, their team liked the pick. What was interesting was there was a question asked about moving down from 11th, and if there was debate over whether or not they would maybe regret it if a player they liked was still on the board. And Adams said that there was one player they were nervous about that would possibly be there at 11. Apparently he wasn't there, though. So it wasn't Zeev Buium. So I thought that was interesting. Another thing that I think kind of came off kind of clear, he's not happy with other teams and trade talks. It kind of seems like they're kind of playing hardball with him, which I know we just spent the last however long ranting about just overpay. But I think what Adams was saying was that GMs weren't making player trades. They weren't trading a player for a draft pick straight up. That was definitely the conclusion he came to at that moment. So I guess time to trade some prospects.
Yeah. From what he was saying, it seemed as though picks weren't as valued as highly in this draft, which we kind of saw coming from a while, knowing that this draft wasn't as deep as other drafts in the past and maybe coming down the road. So it's looking like if there's going to be a trade or if there's going to be a big acquisition made by the Sabres, it's going to be maybe all players just swapping. It might be 2 players coming in, could be 3, maybe even 4 players going out, unless you want to throw a pick in. But again, you don't know with these GMs right now because draft pick stock is at an all-time low.
Yeah, He made it abundantly clear that it takes two teams to make a trade. He did not seem happy. He said he made some strong offers, and no one was biting. I mean, he even made a comment that seems like this is going to be the year that teams aren't going to trade players away. So
4 picks.
yeah, so he's not happy. He's clearly trying. But
A for effort, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
they do really like the player. I mean, he was
Yeah, I mean, if
talking
you're talking
about how he's close to NHL ready. I mean, he was pretty much saying that.
they said they'd give him a chance to compete in camp. But I think biggest of all, they said they want him in North America as soon as possible, which is which is kind of unsurprising when you look at how they got Kulik over right away, how they got Rose in out of the SHL pretty quickly once he wasn't getting ice time. So, and they've been doing that. They want to get Wahlberg over here as quick as possible. Same with Osland, even if they didn't end up doing so. They like guys to come play in their system as quick as possible. So, look for Helenius to be hopefully in Rochester by this fall. That would be fun. But yeah, Adam, the only thing left to say is that Adam said he'll probably pick up conversations again right after the end of the presser. So once again, if everything that we just talked about the last hour or so could be out of date and it could age like milk pretty quickly.
Even before this is edited and sent out.
Hopefully it is. I really hope it's not even that I hope we're wrong. I just hope that it was pointless to be nervous that this wasn't going to end well. So I think other than that, I don't know if you guys have any other closing thoughts. This is the last time we're speaking before free agency, so any last words?
Yeah, it was nice being in person. First time in a
yes,
long
it
time.
was. It has been a while.
It's been a minute.
I did miss it. So
Probably since around when the season started.
Yeah. Just sorry to the YouTube people who love seeing our faces, but you're not getting us this week.
This is audio only.
hopefully the dynamic makes up for it.
But let's make some deals. All right, I'm excited. I hope I wake up in the morning and there's a nice trade under my pillow.
So, with that, thank you very much for listening as always. This is always this is the second time we've done this. It's been a blast both times just to turn the mics on during the draft and then react afterwards. So, thank you for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us at the Sabre Report, or on Instagram and TikTok at the Sabre Report. If you just watched this video on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to click like and subscribe. If you want updates for the pod, you can follow us on Twitter at Sabre Report Pod. As always, go give our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast a listen. And I think other than that, stay tuned. Free agency opens on Monday. We'll be sure to talk to you a few days after, maybe the night of. I don't know if something crazy happens. If the Sabres make a trade tomorrow, I would assume we get together to talk if it's a big splash. But otherwise, stay tuned for our free agency episode, and that's where we'll talk to you then. So, thank you very much for listening, and let's hope for some trades. Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.